All right, welcome to Artist Spotlight 2020. I'm here with JD and Megan Jorgenson at their studio, at their Maine Prairie Studio in Kimball. Is that right, Kimball? Out in
Yes.
that direction. It's for the collaboration here with the St. Cloud Art Crawl we're doing this weekend and celebrating Millstream Arts Festival this weekend. Thank you for being with us, JD and Megan. And could you start out by sharing with us who you are and what you do?
Thanks for having us, Alicia and
Yeah.
Nick.
All right, so yeah, we are Megan and JD Jorgensen. We are married to each other.
That's right.
We're ceramic artists, potters. We have this studio here in Maine Prairie Township, just north of Kimball, where we have our own studio. We have a studio where we've taught some classes in the past. We have some kilns. We live here. And we both make things out of clay, but kind of have different paths in our work and interests in our work, some overlapping things too.
We've been here
Wonderful.
for about, I think this is our third year since we built our house down here in Kimball, and we're about 25 minutes south of St. Joe.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. So, could each of you share with me your background? A little bit about how clay came to be in your life, or a little bit about the background of pottery or your experience?
All right, I'm starting. So I never thought I would be an artist because I wasn't good at drawing. I always liked art, but when I got to college, I found I liked taking art classes because it was something that was tangible. Like writing papers seemed really abstract, and I'd done something, but I couldn't really see it. And the art classes I was taking were challenging, and I could see I was making progress. So I just kept taking more art classes and ended up studying painting and printmaking as an undergrad. And then after I finished my undergraduate degree, I kind of got pulled more towards clay. I'd already always liked clay, and I started, meeting more people who worked with clay and looking for different opportunities. I've moved around quite a bit and lived in a number of different places. So places that I've studied clay include Montana. I was an apprentice at a pottery studio there, and I was a studio assistant at a studio in Northern California. And then I got a graduate degree at Utah State University in ceramics. And now I live here and continue learning about clay as I go.
Wonderful. And I love hearing the story of how it came into your life or your path of how it came into your life because what I've learned from a lot of these experiences, especially with potters, which has been interesting listening to their history, that usually comes something a little later that they've experienced or found, and it
Yeah.
wasn't something that was right away in their life.
I was always someone who was interested in a lot of things. I like doing, you know, I did some dance and I did some art and I did some music and then when I like ceramics at some point just kind of took hold of me. And so it became a way to kind of focus my interests. I really love ceramics because it incorporates a lot of different things. There's science and there's math and there's art and it's very tactile and there's these different steps. So it's not, just a straightforward process. There's a lot of different facets to it. So I feel like there's always something else you can get interested in or learn more about or explore.
Hmm. I agree. I agree. And that comes through in your work too, that we'll look at here in a little bit. And we've been putting up at the bottom of our screen here, your website, your Facebook page at Maine Prairie Studio. People can follow there with classes and experiences that you're sharing. I know that you've had shows out there where people can come and purchase work and we'll continue to make sure people know where they can find you for sure. Okay,
Thanks.
JD, your turn now. You tell us about your journey.
Okay. Um, I guess my journey in clay and art started a little bit when I was in high school. Um, I had kind of a general instruction in art, and there was a wheel kind of tucked away in the art room that no one used, and asked if I could use it. So that's where I first started tinkering with clay, was in the high school, and more directly in college, studying clay. And I found that I enjoyed making things, and I enjoyed, especially when I started college, um, I guess, Eastern or Asian aesthetic in ceramics and tea ceremony and calligraphy. And when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, which I'm still doing in my work and in life, is I wanted to study clay in Fargo, where I went to school at NDSU, and then I actually transferred down to the University of Iowa, where I was going to study a lot more art history and art education and studio ceramics, but that changed into Japanese language and more clay-based studio work. And I think the physicality of working in clay and pottery is really something I'm drawn towards, and kind of the aspect of using materials close to where you're at. And through my studies, I apprenticed at St. John's University. When I came back to Minnesota, with Richard Bresnahan and his influence in Japan and using local materials and wood firing has really taken root in my life, and something that I really strive for that connection, especially now, in place and making things with your hands and helping and working with people that want to do that too. Mm-hmm. So it's been a long journey, and there's always been people that have helped keep me on that path, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I was just saying, and now we are here, Megan and I, working together at our studio, making decisions on what we want to do and approach, and that's a lot of fun too. A lot of positive energy.
Oh, we're excited to see those pieces and hear about them too. So the best way for people to get a hold of you and to see your work or to visit the studio is your email. Would that be the best way for people to get a hold of you? info@mainprairiestudio.com?
Yes,
and the website would be a good place to.
Our website is good, and our Facebook page too.
Yes.
Is another way to send us a message.
Oh, good. People can reach out and see the work and see what you're doing out there. Let's start with some images. And actually, before we do that, I do want to talk about, because I know that when you're at Millstream and I hear about your work and listen to your process a lot, when we're there, there's lots of different ways that people are trying to stand out and be noticed. And what is one thing that you want people to know about your work that they leave with, the one thing that they remember or connect with? Either one. Who would like to share? Or you both might have a different one.
Well, I think I'm always happy when anyone connects with my work in any way. Whether it's how it feels in their hand, or there's I use a lot of imagery, so if it's an image they connect to. I think one thing I appreciate about my work is that it can be a little complicated, and that means it can reach different people in different ways. So I think what might stand out for one person might be different for another person, and I want it to be like that,
Mm-hmm. What about you, JD?
I think that the connection to someone finding, my work is super special. And I think the biggest thing that I've seen people come away with when they find a piece of mine is, well, I grew up here, or they have this family connection there, and kind of bringing those things together, maybe some nostalgia, some tactile response to eating or using a piece every day in the ceramics, I think is super important. So I feel very thankful that if someone finds my work, that I feel pretty honored that they actually take it home with them and use it in their home daily or what have you.
Hmm. I know I'm lucky enough to have a few of your pieces here in our home, and when we share your pieces with people, the little things we notice are from your story, where the clay came from, the experience of the wood fire, and when you hold a piece, you really can feel that. So I know that there is a lot that stands out when it comes to your work that I'm excited to share with people and for people to see who don't know your work. So let's start with some images. First one's going to be some of you all.
There we are.
There we are.
That's the other side of our studio.
Oh, so this is one side we're looking at in the video of you, and this is the other side of the studio here.
Yeah.
A couple wheels there, and
yeah, those are JD's wheels.
oh,
And this studio space that we're in right now, both that photo and where we're speaking from, is the space we finished less than a year ago. So it still feels a bit like a new space for us to be kind of working in.
Lots of light.
Lots of light. Yeah.
I think in the next picture we have you working on your piece here, or JD working.
Yep. I'm using a karatsu style kick wheel that you use your foot to make it move. And right there in that photo, I'm using clay that I dug in St. Joseph, Minnesota. And I'm throwing off of a hump of clay off the top, making some bowls, and using one of the tools that I studied during my apprenticeship at St. John's. It's a Chawan Hera tool for throwing, and it's a way that I really enjoy making work, even now in our studio that we just set up.
Wonderful. All right, the next one is you, Megan, working on a piece.
Oh, yep, there I am. I have that piece right here. I'm still trying to find it. So that is a coil built piece. And in that photo, I'm doing more some finishing, some scraping. But I use a lot of different techniques and processes. JD does as well. So I do some work with slabs. I do some work with coils. I do some work on the wheel. I really enjoy coil building, though. I think it's one of my favorite ways of making work and making some larger work, too.
So you said you have that piece close by. Can we see where you're at with it?
Well, it hasn't. It's dry.
Getting ready for the wood kiln.
Yeah, here we are.
Oh.
Cool. So sometimes finishing things is hard, and so I'm still contemplating maybe doing some drawing or imagery on it. So I'm kind of leaving it, waiting on firing until I decide whether or not I'm moving forward with that.
So how long have you worked with that piece?
It's been in different stages between working on building the wood kilns. It's been off and on through the summer.
Yeah, time's gotten a little weird.
It has gotten
There's some other things, like you can see behind us here, we have some, these are other things that are in progress. These are a little more recent. So, plastic is good. You can wrap things up and ponder it for a while, work on some other things, come back to it. I do a lot of work with surface processes, a lot of printmaking processes, and it's something I really love, but it's also the part I procrastinate on often. Kind of like this finality of making a decision that sometimes takes a certain space in the brain.
Space in the brain, yes. Well, it's nice you can take time with it, take time with it. All right, here's the next piece.
Oh, there's a big project we're working on right now. those are actually since being here, we've been wanting to kind of balance the studio space with our firing and processes for our making. And we decided to build two small wood burning kilns. And we have the close image or close shape with the side stokes that you see is one of the chambers, one kiln, and then the chimney is shared between the back chamber and the front chamber. So one is straight wood, it's a tube kiln, and the last furthest arch away from us in the picture is another catenary arch, and that's a wood-fired salt glaze kiln that we've been working on building since maybe July.
It's been about 2 months, past 2 months. July, we really hit it hard.
Yep. So we're excited to have the bricks not on pallets and in the useful tools that those are. We're excited for that.
Yeah, I've lost count of how many bricks. I think it's about 3,000 in the kilns.
Yeah, 3,000 or so far.
Wow.
It's
wow.
still being finished. We're gonna have some more things to do, but it's in the final stages of getting done. So
I was going to ask if it's been fired yet, but it hasn't.
It has not.
It has not.
All of our creative energy, a lot of our creative energy since we've been here has been going into our home and our studio building and preparing the studio to actually be useful. And this is an aspect of our creative energy going into these kilns to have some forward momentum in our work and our studio practices.
So when this is fired, are you planning on a big event or something people could support or attend, or depending on COVID and all that, but are you planning something for this great event?
Well, the thing with the first firing is it's a little, you never know how the kiln's going to fire it the first time or the second time or maybe like the fifth time. And with the current environment, we'll probably keep things quieter for the first firing or so. But
yeah,
over time, there will be more chances for people to be involved and to see the work and all of that.
We're not sure how the first firing will go, especially with COVID things. We hope to fire it this fall, next month, hopefully, if all goes well with the build. But we're not sure. That's the one thing that's really hard about the times we're in is like wood firing is very community based, or it can be, and it's something that's not going to be as available, unfortunately. So we just have to see how all that works out. But that's part of it that I really enjoy and have enjoyed in the past. It's a great learning experience for ourselves and for just other students and people who are interested. So
to be determined.
Yeah.
To be determined, and people can find this out too, probably on your social media and Instagram and Facebook, and kind of see if there is something or how the first firing went, and really follow along there. Good. All right, so let's look at some pieces that you have. There we go.
So, should I just talk, or do you have
Yeah, go for it. Tell us all about your work here.
This is a portion of a tray. This is my work, and this is photographed at our house, at our home. JD took the photo. He's a good photographer.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so about the piece, as I was mentioning, I do quite a bit with some imagery and some printmaking processes. And so this is, if you were to see the whole piece, it's, probably about this big, kind of an oval shaped tray with fluted edge. And these pieces I make both as wall hangings and as something that you could use as a serving dish. And the image on there is a barn. I've done a fair amount of imagery of barns since I've moved to the area, to central Minnesota. Really love some of the older barns in the area and worried about the history of the older farms, if they'll survive. We've seen a number of barns in our area get torn down just in the time we've lived here. So some of it is wanting to hold on to a little bit of that heritage and kind of connect with where I live. Kind of looking back at my work, I've always pulled imagery from where I am or from places I've traveled to into the work. And so that's what that print is. It's actually a block print. And I do with my work a lot of transfer, printmaking transfers. So I'll print on paper with ceramic materials and then transfer that onto the clay.
Mm, wonderful. Oh, wow. Definitely a multi-process piece here. I can see why it takes a lot of time with a piece, to really work through all those areas. And our
Yes.
next piece here, we have a few of them with some imagery and things like that too, I think.
That's one of my pieces that I've been working on recently in the studio. For those, I guess, for those people that don't know, I dig my own clay that I use from different places where I have a connection to, and I don't actively prospect material or clay from places, but for instance, my clay from my parents' land in North Dakota, I dig clay from there, and I have some clay from St. Joseph where I've lived, and very important place to me, in Grand Marais and some other places. But the clays that I've been using have really have so much. I think they have a lot of character in what they are. I minimally processed them to use them in the studio over the years. Some few years that I've been using, and some quite a number of years. And it's always revealed more information to me every time I make some different forms. And this piece specifically is slip cast. I made. I have this. I really enjoy it, like industrial things, and wood and leather and things like that. But I work at a quarry, and this is a piece of hardware from one of the big crushers that we use to make big rocks into small rocks, essentially. And so I took this 50-pound nut that was thrown out and made a plaster mold of it.
Mm-hmm.
And made a plaster mold of it, and then poured clay from the quarry that's essentially overburdened, and poured it into the mold, and this is what was left. The clay leaves a film, and this is a greenware piece bowl, actually, that's waiting to be fired in the wood kiln or gas kiln. So the piece that you see in front of you has some black stain brushed on and wiped off, and that back side that you can see is actually negative space, like a bowl that was fired in our gas kiln here at the studio. And I started slip casting these native clays I've been using, and it's adding different levels of perspective to those materials to, I guess, educate my practice a little bit. I'm still learning with very few things in the studio clays that I use.
Megan, thank you for sharing grabbing those pieces and sharing the process with it, because people viewing this, seeing what a cast is and piece like that. So thank you very much, and a lot of connections to where we are and where we live and where we work. This is that piece really speaks to that. Thank you. All
Thank you.
right, the next piece we have. Um,
These are also subcast pieces from the same clay. And these are low ball cups that I made molds from, and I enjoy the shape, these faceted shapes that are actually glassware pieces originally. And the blushing that you see on the surface is the Shino glaze that's on the inside, the liner of those pieces coming through the clay body, and also gas fired.
hmm, wonderful. And people, can they purchase these things on your website at mainprairiestudio.com, or is that a place they can purchase work?
Yes. Yep.
Mhm,
There's a tab on our website, purchase work, um,
mhm.
for online, or potentially stop by us, our showroom here at the studio if they call ahead.
Okay, wonderful. All right, let's look at another piece here.
All right, so those are some of my pieces. And this is actually newer work. So anyone who's watching who's more familiar with my work, you may not have seen these before. I've been working on them for maybe the last 9 months or so. And so they're slab cups, where I do some stenciling on the slab before I shape it. So the exterior of the cup is slip and clay, and then with a glaze on the inside. Um, and I've been enjoying these. I'm really excited to make some for the wood firing, because one of the things with the wood kiln is that the wood and atmosphere in the kiln interacts differently with different clays and different slips. So kind of this combination of different slip and clays and patterns that I could use and how they might come out of the wood kiln is something I'm excited about exploring here. And also some different shapes with this kind of slab work.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think we have one last piece here.
Yes, so that's also one of mine. That one's a little bit of an older piece. Again, that's a coil built piece, and a little larger than the one I was showing you earlier. That's probably about 16 inches tall. So it's a coil built. There's some stenciled slip on the surface, and then a barn on there as well. I will say, one of my favorite pieces I've made, and as of the last few years.
Okay, wonderful. I know that I feel like at Millstream last year, I saw some pieces that had the same energy with the colors and the imagery on it. But I know you also had pieces there that the two of you collaborated on, where um, I think it was somebody had created it, and then someone added the embellishment on or the decoration on it also. So um, I know I really enjoy seeing your work. Thank you very much. Do you have a dream project that you're hoping to do? Other than firing up that kiln, that's a big dream project. I'm sure that's been something that you've wanted
Well,
for a long time. And but is there anything else on the horizon that you've been wanting to do?
no, no more projects. It's honestly, our lives have been one big project for the past 3 years. We purchased some property, we built a house, we built a studio, we built some kilns. So right now, the dream project is just making use of the studio and the kilns.
Mhm.
So
That makes sense. That makes
yeah,
sense. Well,
and
we'll be excited to see the kiln and what happens with that. So I know during this time, during COVID has really changed for a lot of artists. And how has it changed for all of you, or has it changed your practice, or anything that you would like to share during this time that you've discovered?
Um, well, It has changed a lot during this time. Um, for quite a while, I think since we've been down here, we've been teaching classes here at the studio, and in 6-week courses for beginners and up to advanced students. And those we've stopped teaching in person because of COVID, and we did some online virtual courses, but we just decided to hold off on all that because of COVID, and come back and revisit that maybe next year, early spring, hopefully.
Yeah.
I've rediscovered something about myself, which is that I'm deadline motivated. And, we had a very busy summer lined up. We had a few different festivals we were planning on doing, more than we've done in the past. And then as those got canceled, I don't know how we would have actually managed our summer between trying to build the kiln and doing all of those things. So maybe it's good that our schedule got freed up a little bit because we could focus on the kiln more. But I do have to say that without having that, date on the calendar that I need to have work done by, that I will say it's been a little harder to motivate. So I think we need to fabricate some deadlines for ourselves so that it's a little easier to get to it.
The kiln, having time for the kiln is something that you probably wouldn't have had. So there's another piece floating in the background there. JD's pieces there, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love your work, JD. We really do. We love it. It's definitely all around us in our home. So we love that. And other people can have your work also by visiting mainprairiestudio.com and have it in their home and cherish it as much as we do. They can follow your the kiln and where we're at with that and any new work and on your Facebook page, your Instagram, and they can reach out to you with questions too if they want to reach out and go see, like you said, the studio and see work because I know you've spoken a few times in our conversation about holding a piece and picking up a piece and having a connection with a piece and because of the tactile experience and people can do that by appointment and going to your emailing you and setting that up so they can have that experience. Is there anything you want to close with our as we end our conversation today? Anything you want to share?
Well, thanks so much for organizing this and inviting us to be part of it. And we're excited, even though we're not there in person over the Millstream weekend, to still be connecting with people and sharing ourselves. And, we do have a lot of irons in the fire. So over the next few years, I hope that people who are interested will stay interested and see what happens, because things will happen. We don't know what exactly, but things will happen. So, yeah.
We appreciate what you're doing. Thanks for doing good things, positive things.
Absolutely. We know it's been tough on our artists in our community. We want to make sure people know you're all still there and making and creating art and we want people to buy the art from our local artists and from our artists in our community. And I know it's brought a lot of joy to our life having local work in our home and connecting to all of you and hearing your story. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us today, your studio with us today, and your art with us. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.